Finding an IPA can be a difficult decision, especially now as there's so many to choose from. If you are unsure of what to look out for, then it can be tempting to choose the IPA with the coolest design on it. But this isn't always the best way to choose the right IPA for you, and can be very unreliable. In this video, I will show you what to look out for on an IPA bottle or can, so you can make the right decision. Okay, to begin with, there are 9 common styles of IPA which you may see. You've got English IPA, which uses British hops and yeast, giving an earthy, slightly citrus flavour. West Coast IPA, which uses American hops and can give piney, citrus and earthy flavours. East Coast IPA, which can use mutated yeast to make the flavour, as well as the hops, which can give fruity, tropical notes. Double IPA, which uses more hops for more flavour and bitterness. Triple IPA. Session IPA, which typically has less alcohol, meaning you could drink more, perfect for a night out. Black IPA uses darker malts, which can give a toasty caramel, coffee or chocolate kind of flavours. Belgian IPA, which uses Belgian yeast, which can give fruity and spicy notes. And grapefruit IPA, which is fairly new due to the rise in popularity of acidity and bitterness in beer. There are many different styles of IPA, but it doesn't necessarily mean that brewers will choose to stick to these styles of IPA. In fact, many IPAs won't even say whether or not they belong to one of these 9 categories. Instead, they choose to be different and make new alternative styles of their own. Unlike Scotch or bourbon, for example, which are both considered whiskies but have to be brewed either in Scotland or America and follow a very strict brewing process, IPA is far more relaxed. An IPA can be made anywhere around the world. It can be a confusion sometimes to think that West Coast IPA can only be brewed in America. That is not the case. West Coast IPA is simply just a style of IPA using American hops. This is the same with English IPA. It can be made anywhere in the world. All it means is it uses British hops and yeast. Due to the lack of restrictions on what determines an IPA, this allows new categories of IPAs to be made due to the freedom of trying new things. So how do you know what IPA is best for you? Well, for starters, know what you like. If there's a specific style of IPA you like, then I would suggest take note in what kind of hops they use. For example, if you like West Coast IPAs, then I would suggest you look out for IPAs that may contain Citra or Cascade hops. Another thing to look out for is alcohol volume. Whether you like strong flavour or a light, refreshing flavour, the alcohol percentage can be a very helpful indicator of whether or not this IPA is strong in flavour. Typically, the more alcohol, the more flavour. Now, this is not to do with the hops. So if you think that it's potentially going to be a bit more bitter, it could still be a bit more bitter if it's a double IPA, but it's not the hops that give the alcohol percentage, it's the malts. It's always worth keeping that in mind. Also, the ingredients. Now, I'm not saying memorize all 147 varieties of hops, but if you can keep a note of what IPAs you like and knowing what hops they use, that can also be a very helpful way to know whether or not you'd like a new style of IPA with the same hops. IPAs will also typically have keywords that will tell you what kind of flavour profile an IPA would be. They might say juicy or tropical, bitter. So even if they don't tell you the style of IPA that they are, because they might not feel like they identify to a specific style of IPA, it might be relatively similar to a style of IPA that you quite like and enjoy. So let's go through a few examples of what to look out for on an actual bottle. First example is the Old Empire IPA. Now, this IPA uses Goldings, Fuggles and American Cascade hops, and they say it gives an authentic recreation of the beer style created throughout the British Empire. Now, this IPA is saying it's an authentic IPA, but does not say it is an English IPA. This is because although they're using Goldings, Fuggles, they're also using American Cascade hops. So they do not belong to a certain style of IPA, but it can still be similar British IPA with a slight twist. The second example would be a Siren IPA. This is the Soundwave Nectaron. Now, this too doesn't say it belongs to a certain style of IPA, but it does say what kind of flavour profiles you are to expect from this IPA. For example, juicy pineapple, passion fruit, and stone fruit notes. So if you are into that kind of style of IPA with that kind of flavour profiles, it could be an indication that you would like this IPA. Now, this IPA also uses a hop variety called Nectaron, which is responsible for these flavours, which is a New Zealand style hop. So if you are completely new to IPA, you don't know what style you like at all, then I would highly suggest buying the multi-packs of IPA and seeing exactly what kind of IPA style you enjoy. So Tiny Rebel do multi-packs, Brewdog do multi-packs. I'm sure Siren do multi-packs. I haven't actually checked that. With some of their IPAs, they do state what style of IPA they are. We're now at the end of the video. I hope you found it useful and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy my content, then don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye.